And it's going to get worse. That's the interesting thing about it. You have all the wrong people in the right places to make sure it get worse. To assure you it's not going to get better. And they want it to get worse to put fear in you to control you. It's all about that. Human beings, due to the wickedness of their hearts, love to control others. It survived off being controlled within itself, controlling you, and controlling others outside of you. And they call it life. They call it power. They call it leadership. They call it everything but what it is, socialism. Amazing. And because you don't think for yourself, it seems right. My America is gone. And it's interesting, I watch I don't watch them, but I hear these sound bites in the media about how the Republican representatives are holding all these meetings, going after Joe Biden and his son for whatever it is they supposedly have done, while nothing is being done to make the country better. They're not correcting anything because they don't want it. The Republican representatives are no different than the Democrats. So they hold these stupid meetings about Joe Biden and his son, and then they go on TV and they talk about it. And if you're not paying close attention, it feels like they're doing something. But they're not doing anything. They're not stopping our money from going over to Ukraine or in other places around the world. They're not stopping the border crisis from happening. They're not stopping homelessness. They're not stopping the drugs that are flowing out there, encouraged by the government. They're not stopping the violence in the street. They're not funding the police and bringing them back. But they hold meetings about nonsense stuff that make it look like they're doing something, and they're not. And if you're not paying attention, you will believe that they're doing something. We have a one-party system in America, a one-party system. And it is crazy. So many things are crazy, but this is one. That because the government told you that you can use drugs freely without going to jail or punishment or anything, everybody and their mama are on drugs, except baby Jessica's daddy. I remember when people were encouraged to go and get a trade. They would encourage you to do that in school, high school and stuff like that. And then when your parents, your grandparents and others would say, get a trade. You will always have a job, food on your table. If you have a trade, you can go wherever you want. You can work with your hands. You're going to always have food on your table. And the people are like, yeah, that's really cool. So trade schools were everywhere. And people were independent. And then they said, you know what? How about college? You guys are too independent. We can't control you if you work for yourself. If you're independent, an independent thinker, if you have self-control. We need to control you. Trades are not going to work in America. You need a degree go to college. And the people, yeah, that makes sense. You're not going to be able to make it in America unless you have a college degree. They used to say that about high school degree, too. You need at least a high school degree to make it in America, or a GED. And some people really think that in order to make it in America, they need a GED if they dropped out of high school. It's in the mind thinking that because they've been told that, and they have not considered if that's true or not. Then they say, get a college degree. And oh, by the way, you're going to have to pay buku money for a dumb piece of paper just to be dumber so that we can control you. And the people fall for it. No self-control, no self nothing anymore. No individuality. Only group thinking. And they tell you what you should and should not do and what you need. And what you want and how you want and when you want it. You got the dumb people telling dumb people what they need. And the people fall for it. It's no wonder America will not return. It will not return. Everybody and their mama on drugs. Seattle Times is reporting that according to a new study of almost 7 million health records, young men who frequently use marijuana have an increased risk of developing schizophrenia. Watch this compilation.
Leading medical researchers are coming to the conclusion that marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug in the United States.
And their worry is that the THC levels are so high, it can lead to teens suffering psychotic episodes.
With more than 7,000 dispensaries nationwide, the $20 billion marijuana industry is growing so fast, some state regulators say it's even outpacing alcohol sales. The cannabis choices are growing too, with new products like Wax or Shatter now available. They're sold in fruity flavors and have levels of THC, the compound in marijuana that makes you high, that can be 8 times higher than the pot of 20 years ago, according to state regulators.
It did get to the point where it was like, if I don't smoke weed today, I'm not doing anything.
I couldn't wake up. I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't do anything without it.
Will and Jasmine found support at a Denver public high school called 5280 that's designed for kids in recovery.
The amount of THC that's coming into their system is causing severe psychiatric symptoms such as suicidality and even psychotic breaks.
New state data shows the sale of these high THC products in Colorado has increased by over 150% since 2016. The federal government says THC concentrates are more likely to produce anxiety, agitation, paranoia, and psychosis.
Amazing. It's all about the money. That's why they're making it more potent. Because the higher they can get you, the more money you're going to spend for it. Because you feel like you got to have it. And that's what the government want you to be. High as a kite. And they can control you. You already got enough personal issues inside going on that you don't know how to handle. And the part you think going to make you forget. They're going to work out. It's not that way. And a whole bunch of young people, not just the folks on the street, living out on the street, are smoking pot now. And the pot makers are making buku money. Amazing how, and the men are worse than the women. Because the men don't understand that they're trying to wipe you out. You represent the Son of the Father. And they hate the sons of the Father. They hate you. And it's not them, but it's the spirit of evil inside of them that hate the spirit of good inside of you. And they're doing everything they possibly can to wipe out men, because they wipe the men out, they can just control the women and children. The men are in the way. And men are weak today, emotional, uncertain, don't want to work, blaming others, relying on the woman like I've never seen before in my whole entire life. And if you tell them it shouldn't be that way, they don't want to hear that. What the? But if you tell them it's okay to rely on the woman, they accept that. Not in the older days, the good old days, but today they will. What a sad way to live. When I look at the world, it fills me with sorrow. Children today gonna suffer tomorrow. They are trying to destroy the order of God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman and woman over children. Why do you think they don't focus on the family? Zero focus on families. To rebuild them. It's the focus to destroy the family even more so. Because you have that foundation growing up, it's harder to control you. Especially if the father is there to protect you from the mother. The boys and the girls both need the father to be there to protect them, stand between the mother and the children. But it sounds like this AI thing will eventually start thinking for itself, but that's not true.
You know, it's tough to use the term thinking to describe what it's doing for itself, but it is correcting itself, and it's making it, you know, it's making corrections for the types of answers that it gives over time, allegedly. But my issue with it is the people who come on the news and say you need to be worried about this.
Right.
I'm skeptical of anybody who comes on the news and says, you know, this is something that that you need to be worried about. You know, you need to sit there in your living room and start, you know, shaking and really worrying about
Right.
ChatGPT coming and get you. Happens all the time. You know, the classic news at 10, news at 11 story. Watch later will tell you something that you should be worried about.
And you're so right about that too. We're going to get to that story about that black boy in New York, that OC, his name is OC or AC? Alexandria Cortez woman.
Oh, Alexandria.
She's telling the people they need to be mad about that. And the stupid people out there mad about it, don't even know why. But don't worry.
Right.
The government has a solution for that.
We're the government and we're here to help.
I'm telling you, don't worry. We got your back, said the government. Listen to this. Watch who the government is about to put in control of the artificial intelligence thing.
Kamala Harris has a new job. No, she's not stepping down as VP. Biden's tapping her to save humanity from the robots. Today, she's rubbing elbows with top tech CEOs about the risks of artificial intelligence. Let's hope Kamala is excited about this as she is other topics.
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right?
I like to think about a lot of things in the context of a Venn diagram. I love Venn diagrams. Always ask, is there a Venn diagram for this? I'm telling you, it's fascinating when you do.
I just love the idea of exploring the unknown. You're gonna literally see the craters on the moon with your own eyes.
Oh, dummy.
Kamala's big takeaway from the meeting is that AI could infringe on civil rights and erode public trust and faith in democracy.
See, I told you, they put all the wrong people in the right places to destroy America. They put this dummy, empty shell, in control. What is she gonna do?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't sure about whether ChatGPT or artificial intelligence could destroy society. I was a little skeptical. But put her in charge, and I become pretty confident that things are going to go south pretty quickly.
Oh, society will be destroyed. They put her in charge. What?
She'll ensure that it happens.
Can you imagine that that's the vice president of the United States?
You know, when she ran for the primary, she got like the lowest amount of support. No one likes her at all.
Does your life make sense?
Yes.
We talked about that last night. I didn't put my 2 cents on it. And how does your life make sense?
It doesn't always make sense to me, but it makes sense. No, I just have, like I said, I get these, I can see more clearly now than I have in the past that everything is exactly as it should be. Things could not be any other way than exactly as they are right now. Everything's already perfect. Everything's already exactly as it should be.
All right.
When you talk about the order, when you talk about how people end up, the battle that's happening inside of their minds, all those things make sense to me. And that's not always the case. Sometimes I feel like things don't make sense. And when things aren't going my way and I can't make sense of it, I can still see clearly that, of course, it would be this way. Of course, things would be playing out like this, even though it's not going my way. And I don't feel like, we know about feelings, even though I don't feel like it makes sense.
Feelings come a dime a dozen.
I can just, everything is exactly as it should be. And that makes sense to me. So, yeah, I'd say yes.
My grandfather raised me more so than my father because my father moved up to Indiana and I stayed with my grandparents. And my grandfather was what y'all call base, I guess, meaning that he was tough without trying to be tough. And shout out to my grandfather, as Haight would say. But and I think because I hung around with him so much, I have some of his personality too.
How important do you think it is to have time alone to oneself?
It is number one. It should be at the top of your list. The number one thing is to make sure that you have time alone.
Right.
And alone can not just be, alone as a person, on your own, but without TV or radio, any distraction. You need that at the top of your list.
Right. Yeah, I've noticed that with a lot of your callers. I'm not with them. I don't know if they're alone or not, but they don't sound like they have much alone time because a lot of the things that they talk to you about, it seems to me, are really ideas of other people's manifesting in them, whether they're fears or concerns. Buddy's calling about his wife that's going to leave him or he's going to leave, these types of things. And it just kind of struck me when they're kind of pacing and, in their head so deeply that perhaps they're not having much time actually alone to, I would say, kind of zone out, neutral out, meditate, silent prayer. I think, as you would say, right, become one with God. Talk to... You
should seek first the kingdom of God and his right way before anything or anyone else. And then eventually things will fall in place.
I did want to say, too, though, that to clarify the AI, I think the AI is smarter than the person who's programming it because it's taking results from all of Google and all of people who have put in information. So it can be smarter than the one person that is programming it at the moment.
But not on its own, right? Because it's only going by the information that somebody put into it and it's collecting that information through its little stupid brain wire.
But it's pulling from all search results in Google history of the internet.
Right.
So millions and millions and millions of people is basically its aptitude compared to the one person who is asking it the question or whatever.
But would that make it smarter than the people?
Then that one person potentially.
But if somebody pulled the plug on it, would it go dead?
Yeah, I guess I rest my case.
No. You have to pull all the plugs.
What?
Because isn't it connected to the internet?
I'm saying if you pull the plug, the machine, all that information from all the people that they put into it, the machine will go dead and won't function, right?
It's not a machine, though.
Whatever it is.
See?
Thinking is not that special.
Yep.
That's a machine. That a machine could do it is not surprising. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Look at the people who believe thought. They are machines, said the Anchor Baby. That's true. That is so deep.
In your face.
What did she say? It was giving people access? Giving the blacks access to things.
Oh, uh-huh.
They call begging and blaming and whining racism, and they need access to things.
Yeah.
That's a shame that the blacks, not all, but most believe that they need the white man to open the door and let them in. They can't create their own door and just walk on in. They don't call it begging and blaming and whining. They call it access now. And so it cover up the weakness of what it really is. What a mess, huh?
Yeah.
Other people, like my family members, they probably think I'm nuts, you know? 'Cause
yeah.
it's like, you know, they interpret the Bible, whatever, differently. It's just like, it's not the worst. I think it's like in the worst, you know, like they misinterpret and they go along with everybody else. So,
absolutely.
I had to move away from my family because it's the same. It's just too much, you know. I'd rather now just be in peace, silence, everything is just much better.
Amazing.
But yeah, I was telling my coworker that they should make Mother's Day go forgive your mama day.
That's a good idea.
Right?
Wow. Yesterday we played this video for you where this black dude in New York was, they say he was acting out on the train there. And as a result, they had to hold him down and he ended up dead. He did. And now the stupid people protesting in the streets and don't even know why. Because somebody said do it, and they don't know why. How long do the black people think that other people are going to put up with their mess on the trains and robbing and raping and killing and carrying on and acting out? I mean, you're taking away your right to bear arms. You're not able to protect yourself, and you have crazies on the train and planes doing this crazy stuff. How long can you put up with this? This is why we have to take back the country by voting these people out, putting other people in that will work for you and against you before it's too late. According to the Blaze, Jordan Neely's dad abandoned him in childhood. They're not going to bring that up. Neely's stepfather strangled and disposed of his mother when Neely was 14 years old. They're not going to deal with that, and they're not going to tell you that. Instead, political opportunists and corporate media appeared ready to turn Neely into the next George Floyd, an excuse to riot and loot. And according to the Blaze, had the former Marine been black, no one would care. Black gang members kill men no different from Jordan Neely across America. No protests, and none of it make national news. Restoring the family is the only hope for America. The Blaze is right on about that, 100%. But they don't want to restore the family. They don't want the father in the life of their children because they need the kids in order to brainwash them to destroy in order to create socialism. What a mess. Let me go to Rick out of California, 888-7753-773. Rick, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hi, Jesse. How are you?
All is well, Rick.
Right on. Basically, I don't have much to say other than, it's been a long time since I called your show. And in that time, I feel like I've kind of changed a little bit. But, so, I don't know. I mean, in the past, I was like a fan of your show, and I called your show. And I don't know, I just tried to play devil's advocate and things like that, challenge your ideas. So I guess I'm calling to apologize for that.
I don't remember it, but forgiven, no problem at all, man. I understand it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Right on. So I guess other than that, I don't really have much to say.
All right. Well, thanks for calling, man. So forget about it and move on with life, all right?
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Life is hard, and if you're trying to deal with stuff and you're in the back of your mind, you're a victim, it's the white man's fault, it's this person's fault, it's slavery, whatever, it makes you give up. Whereas white people say, white people don't have that, white people aren't victims, right? White people are, and if anything, they're the target nowadays. So if you're a white person and you have to make it, you got to rely on yourself and rely on your hard work, where you don't have that easy way out or that easy excuse. And that's why it's so important not to think of yourself as a victim and to empower yourself and to, because that helps harden you and helps you to overcome the challenges that life has, because life's hard for anybody.
Yep. The people who believe that they are victims are weak, pathetic, po-excuse losers. They don't deserve help because they're not trying to help themselves. They're just sitting back, pointing the finger and blaming others. And they're just weak, pathetic people. And that's not what made America great. It was the strong who made America great. And instead of the blacks learning from the whites now, because beforehand blacks were not like that, but instead of them learning from the white, because they definitely clearly lost their way, they are sitting back and begging and blaming and give me opportunity. I can't make it. Lower the standard for me so that we can get in. It's insane, man.